The sun was already dropping when Carter Ellery felt the sting in his side turn from a warm throb into a sharp, tearing pain. He'd taken the injury earlier that morning, a rustler's bullet meant for the horse he was chasing. The bastard's shot had gone wide and caught him instead, grazing but deep, ripping through muscle. He'd wrapped it. He'd ignored it. He'd kept riding. By late afternoon, ignoring wasn't an option anymore. His chestnut gelding, Bramble, sensed something was wrong. The horse kept flicking its ears back at Carter, snorting, slowing without command, looking for permission to rest. But Carter pushed on through the sandstone canyons of the Northern Territory, knowing if he stopped now, dusk would swallow the land whole. And coyotes weren't the only things that prowled in the cold. "Not yet," he muttered, pressing a bloody palm to his ribs. "Ain't quit tin. Not tonight." But the canyon walls blurred. A feverish wave washed through him. The reins slipped from his fingers. Bramble halted on his own. Carter leaned forward, trying to catch his breath, but the world tilted sideways. He slid from the saddle and hit the ground hard, a hiss of dust lifting around him. The pain in his ribs flared white-hot. He tried to get up. He failed. The last thing he remembered was Bramble nudging his shoulder with his soft muzzle, snorting in panic before trotting away, searching for help or maybe just water. Carter didn't know. He just knew darkness came quicker than he could brace against it. He didn't know how long he was out. Minutes? Hours? When he opened his eyes again, night stretched above him, full of cold stars. A breeze swept through the canyon, carrying the smell of sage. Something warm covered his torso. Something soft brushed his forehead. He tried to sit up. A firm hand pressed his chest. A quiet voice, low but gentle, murmured something he didn't understand. His vision cleared in pieces. A small fire burned nearby, contained with neat stones. A clay pot sat over it, steaming. And leaning over him was a young Navajo woman, wrapped in a dark woven blanket, hair braided over her shoulder. She looked at him like he was something fragile, like a desert bird with a broken wing. Carter tried to speak. His throat felt cracked. "Where?" "Lie still," she whispered. Her English was accented, soft as sand on stone. She dipped a cloth into a wooden bowl of cool water and touched it to his lips. He drank greedily, until she pulled it back with a subtle shake of her head. "Slow," she murmured. He blinked, more aware of her now. Her eyes reflected the firelight, dark, steady, unreadable. She couldn't have been more than 22, though her expression carried years of wisdom. Her clothing was practical, deerskin and cotton, simple beadwork at the seams, but her hands were what drew his gaze. They moved with certainty, confidence. A healer's hands. "You patched me up," he rasped. She didn't answer that. Instead, she lifted the blanket covering him and inspected the bandages beneath. They were tight, clean. She had packed the wound with crushed herbs he didn't recognize. "You lost much blood," she said. "But you were lucky. The bullet did not stay inside." "Lucky?" he said with a weak laugh. "Can't say it feels that way." She didn't smile, but her eyes softened a little. He looked around, surprised to see the canyon walls closer than before, curving inward. "How'd I get here?" "Your horse brought you." She reached behind her and gestured to the shadows. Bramble stood tethered to a juniper tree, calmly chewing hay she must have laid out. "He came to my spring. He would not leave. I followed him." Carter exhaled slowly. "Good boy," he murmured to Bramble. Then he looked back at her. "I owe you my life." She didn't respond, as if the words meant nothing. "What's your name?" he asked. Her gaze flickered, almost wary. She answered so quietly he nearly missed it. "Atsabi." He repeated it clumsily. She corrected him gently, shaping the sound with her lips, and he tried again until she gave a small nod, approval or relief, he couldn't tell. "And you?" she asked. "Carter Ellery." She dipped a cloth and set it across his forehead. "Carter Ellery," she repeated, slower this time, like she was tasting the shape of the words. The canyon wind rustled. The fire cracked. For a moment, neither spoke. "What were you doing out here alone?" she finally asked. "Chasin' a rustler. Fool of a man thought he could make off with 3 of my calves." He paused. "Turns out he had a better shot than I expected." Her eyes flickered to his bandages. "And you chased him still?" "I'm stubborn." He tried to smile, winced instead. "Guess I paid for it." Atsubi worked quietly, mixing something in a small stone bowl. The scent drifted toward him, bitter roots, sage, maybe juniper bark. She placed a palm against his ribs, feeling the heat of his fever. Her hand was cool, sure, steady. "You must rest," she said. "Tonight. And tomorrow. I can't stay here long." His voice was strained. "My ranch is a day's ride west." "You try to leave," she said, calm but firm. "You will die on the trail." He swallowed. He knew she wasn't exaggerating. Still, the thought of his ranch, of being helpless while thieves prowled his land, ate at him. She looked at his expression, reading the worry easily. "Your animals will live without you for 2 days," she said. "But you will not live without rest for even half a day." It startled him, how blunt she was beneath all that softness. He sighed. "All right. I'll stay. But only till I'm steady." She nodded once. No argument. No drama. Just acceptance. Carter tried shifting. Pain shot up his side, dragging a groan out of him before he could stop it. Atsubi's eyes snapped up. "Do not move," she said, the quiet in her voice suddenly carrying steel. "Your wound tears inside when you twist." "You're bossy," he muttered. She didn't understand the word at first. When she did, she blinked once, then looked back down at her herbs as if to say, "Someone must be." He let out a rough laugh, but it dissolved into a cough. She supported him quickly, placing a firm hand between his shoulder blades until it passed. Her palm lingered there a moment too long. Not out of affection, he thought, more out of instinct, like she wanted to be sure he wouldn't fall apart. He studied her in the firelight. The canyon shadows danced across her cheekbones. His head swam, and not entirely from the fever. "You live out here alone?" he asked. She hesitated. "Yes." "That's safe." "It is safe enough." Her answer carried a quiet sadness. Or maybe a memory she wasn't planning to share. Before he could say more, she held up a hand. "No talking now. Drink." She lifted a clay cup to his lips. The brew was bitter, earthy, unfamiliar. It burned his throat, then warmed his chest, spreading outward until his pain dulled to something distant. He blinked slowly. "You're good at this." "It is my work." "You a medicine woman?" Her eyes lowered. "I am learning. My grandmother taught me." Before she passed. The way she said it, soft, full of ghosts, pulled something in his chest that wasn't pain. He sank back against the blanket as her brew pulled him toward sleep. The fire blurred. The canyon spun. "Atsubi," he whispered. She looked at him. "You don't gotta stay up all night watching me. I'll manage." She didn't answer. When he drifted under again, the last thing he saw was her sitting beside him, knees drawn to her chest, her braid catching the firelight, eyes sharp, watchful, refusing to look away. When morning came, Carter woke to the smell of juniper smoke and warm earth. Atsubi was already up, kneeling by the spring, scooping water with her hands and washing her face in slow, deliberate motions. Her braid hung almost to her waist. The canyon air carried a crisp bite, but she didn't shiver. She moved like someone shaped by the land, not inconvenienced by it. Carter tried to sit. The pain sharpened immediately. Atsubi turned her head sharply. "No. Just trying to see the sun," he muttered. "You will see it from where you lie." She walked toward him with a clay cup. "Drink. It helps with fever." He took a sip and grimaced. "This tastes like tree roots boiled in horse sweat." She blinked, not sure if that was a complaint or a joke. "It is medicine," she said carefully. "It is not meant to be enjoyed." He chuckled, then stifled it when his ribs protested. "Fair enough." She crouched next to him, unwrapping the bandage she'd applied the night before. Her fingers were gentle but unhesitating as she checked the wound. The herb she'd used had drawn out dark streaks of infection. Already the swelling had gone down. "You heal well," she murmured. "That is good. That thanks to you?" She shook her head. "Thanks to your body. I only help it remember what to do." He studied her face. Her expression held no pride, no seeking of praise. She spoke like someone stating a fact. "Where'd you learn all this?" he asked again, quieter now. "My grandmother taught me everything she knew," she said, voice steady. "She was the healer of our family. People came to her from far lands. Not just Navajo. White men too, sometimes. Soldiers. Travelers. All who needed help, she helped. She sounds like a good woman." She was. What happened to her? Atsubi's eyes dropped. She twisted a strand of her braid between her fingers. "When the sickness swept our people, she stayed to care for them. She saved many." Her voice faltered, not weak, but tight, like she was holding something back. "She did not save herself." Carter's chest tightened, not from injury this time. "I'm sorry," he said softly. She nodded, though she still wouldn't meet his eyes. Grief came easy only for those who hadn't lived with it long. Hers looked like it had settled years ago, deep and quiet, woven into her bones. After a long silence, he asked, "You got anyone else? Family? Tribe nearby?" Her shoulders stiffened. "No. Just you. And the canyon." She rose to her feet and walked toward the fire pit. "I have enough." He watched her stir the pot of morning stew. Corn, wild onion, rabbit, simple but fragrant. She ladled some into a small wooden bowl and brought it to him. "You eat," she said. "It will help you stand soon." He smirked. "Thought you said I wasn't allowed to try standin'." "You are not. But when you are allowed, you will need strength." The logic was solid. He took the bowl. "You're bossy," he said again, because teasing her felt strangely natural. She raised an eyebrow. "I do not know this word." "It means—" He searched for a translation she'd understand. "It means you tell people what to do." Her face remained neutral. "If I do not tell you what to do, you will die." He barked a laugh, then grabbed his ribs and winced. "All right. You win." She turned away, but he caught the faintest curve at the corner of her lips. Almost a smile. Almost. By noon, the fever had broken. Carter felt clearer, though standing was still out of the question. Atsubi kept close, moving around the canyon with light steps, gathering herbs, checking the spring, feeding Bramble. The horse adored her now, following her like a loyal dog. She scratched his cheek and whispered to him in Navajo, and Bramble lowered his head in bliss. "He likes you," Carter said. "He has a gentle heart." "Yeah," Carter muttered, "until he sees a snake." She paused, looking back at him. "He would run. Run. Hell, he'd trample me to get away." Atsubi considered this, then looked at Bramble. "He hides fear under pride. Like someone else I know." Carter blinked. "Hey now." But she was already walking away. He laughed again. She had a way of disarming him without even trying. By late afternoon, she brought him a handful of roots and leaves. "Herbs for infection," she explained. "But I must chew them for the medicine to work." His eyebrows rose. "Chew them?" She nodded. "You're tellin' me my life is in the hands of something you spit into?" Her expression shifted, offended, then confused, then faintly amused. "There are other ways, but this is the strongest." "Well, don't let me stop you," he said, hands raised in surrender. She sat beside him, grinding the crushed mixture between her teeth. Then she spat it gently into her palm, mixed it with a pinch of dried powder, and pressed it firmly to his wound. Her touch was warm, focused. Carter tensed at the sting. She steadied him with her free hand against his chest. "Breathe," she murmured. "Slow." He did. Her hand on his chest felt strangely grounding, not intimate, but not detached either. Like she was anchoring him to life, not just tending a wound. "You've done this a lot," he whispered. "Yes." "You saved many?" "I tried." Her eyes flicked upward, meeting his for only a moment before she looked away. "Not all can be saved." He heard the tremor she tried to hide, a weight she still carried. "You did enough," he said quietly. She paused. The canyon wind swept between them. For a moment, she seemed unsure how to respond. Then, almost reluctantly, she nodded. Evening settled in oranges and violet shadows. Atsubi built a small fire, careful not to let the smoke drift too high. She moved with instinctive caution. Carter noticed it now. Every action deliberate. Every decision designed to keep her invisible in this vast stretch of land. "Someone after you?" he asked gently. She stiffened. "No." "That a real no?" he pressed. "Or a someone you don't want to talk about no?" She turned slowly, eyes steady on his. "There are some truths that, when spoken, follow you like spirits. Better to let them sleep." He nodded. He might not understand her ways, but he understood pain that lived in silence. Atsubi set a bundle of sage near his feet. "This keeps bad dreams away." "You think I got bad dreams?" "I think a man who rides injured through the night chasing a thief has many things chasing him too." He exhaled. "You're not wrong." Her head tilted slightly. "I listen more than I speak. It tells me much." "That why you're quiet?" "I speak when needed." Her gaze lingered on the fire. "Words can be heavy. Or they can be wind. I choose not to waste breath on wind." He smiled softly. "Guess I talk too much for your liking, then." She shook her head. "You speak because you are alone often." He blinked. "How'd you figure that?" She touched the horseshoe-shaped scar on his saddle, the worn leather straps, the smoothed reins. "Your horse listens to you like he listens to water," she said. "Quiet, patient, used to being the only one you talk to." The accuracy stunned him. "You read me pretty well." "I read horses," she corrected. "And horses read men." She returned to the fire, tending the flames until they were low and safe. Carter watched her move, strong, self-assured, untouched by the noise and chaos of the world he came from. She was a canyon spirit living in human form, and he was a wounded fool who'd fallen into her keep. He felt safer with her nearby than he had in years. By the next morning, Carter was strong enough to sit upright, though every movement reminded him of the bullet that had nearly killed him. Bramble nuzzled him, as if to check that he was still alive. Atsubi appeared at the edge of the camp, carrying a small saddlebag with a careful, measured step. "You will ride soon," she said simply. "But not yet." Carter rubbed his ribs. "Feels like I could go now. I owe you a day's ride at least." "You owe nothing. You owed yourself." She paused, then lifted the bag. "But you will need supplies if you go back. The canyon can be harsh for men and used to it." He watched her unpack simple things: dried meat, cornmeal, fresh water in a gourd, a small knife, a spool of cord. She worked with precision, each item folded and packed with purpose. It was strange to watch someone care so little for ceremony yet so much for survival. "Why help me?" he asked. The question slipped out before he could stop it. She looked at him, silent for a long moment. Then, finally, "Because your horse asked me to." He blinked. "My horse." She nodded, eyes dark and certain. "He brought you here. He stayed with me. He did not trust you alone with this canyon." Carter laughed softly. "Well, that's humbling." "You are stubborn," she said, voice quiet but firm. "And reckless. But stubborn men sometimes survive. Or so the canyon tells me." He wanted to argue, but he let the words die in his throat. There was truth in them. They spent the morning together, Carter learning how to care for his wound under her guidance. She instructed him in simple exercises, careful stretches for his ribs, how to clean the bandage without disturbing the healing herbs, how to feed Bramble for strength. Each movement was deliberate, slow, meant to teach and protect. As the sun climbed high, the silence between them became comfortable. Carter realized how little he'd shared with anyone for years. He'd been alone on the ranch for months at a time, worrying more for the herd than for himself. Now, in this canyon, under the quiet supervision of a young healer, he felt a strange weight lifting from his chest. Atsubi watched him with a subtle intensity. She didn't interfere unless necessary, didn't scold, didn't ask questions he wasn't ready to answer. Her presence was calm, grounding. It made him think, for the first time in weeks, that maybe he wasn't meant to be alone. By mid-afternoon, the bandages had been changed, the herbs applied, and the stew made for a final meal before departure. Carter swung his legs over Bramble carefully, wincing as the movement reminded him of the wound, but the pain was bearable now. Atsubi handed him a small pouch of dried herbs. "For the trail," she said. "Chew or drink. Your body will thank you." He nodded. "Thanks." He looked down at her, unsure what more to say. "You will ride carefully," she added. "Canyon is treacherous. Water scarce. You are healed but not yet strong." "I'll be careful," he promised. She watched him mount Bramble, her expression unreadable. Then she took a step back, silent as the canyon walls themselves. For a moment, he wondered if she would just watch him ride off and disappear like some desert ghost. Instead, she said, "The trail forks ahead. You must choose the left path." He frowned. "Left?" "Yes. Right leads to cliffs, unstable ground. Left leads toward your land. Trust Bramble." "Guess your horse trusts you more than I do," he muttered. Atsubi inclined her head once, a silent acknowledgment of his humor. Then she turned, stepping back into the shadowed canyon as if she were part of it. The ride back was slow, cautious. Carter let Bramble pick the pace. The chestnut mare was alert, ears swiveling constantly, eyes sharp. Carter noticed how often he had to speak to him, soothing him, guiding him, acknowledging him. The horse and man were both survivors, both tired, both learning trust. Hours passed, the canyon thinning into open scrubland. Carter kept his thoughts mostly to himself, but he felt a shift inside, a quiet gratitude for the one person who had seen him not as a rancher or a fool, but as a man who had been broken and needed guidance. By sunset, the familiar horizon of his ranch appeared. Smoke rose from a chimney, a fence gleamed, cattle dotted the pastures like black and brown jewels. Relief washed through him, stronger than he expected. He had survived the canyon. He had survived alone, but not entirely. He dismounted, letting Bramble graze nearby, and leaned against the saddle, taking a long, steadying breath. His wound still throbbed, but not sharply anymore. The day had passed without incident. He had endured. He thought of Atsubi and the canyon, and for the first time, he realized how much he would miss her presence, her silent guidance, the strange comfort of being seen and understood. Bramble whinnied, and Carter looked up to see her stepping lightly out of the shadows, carrying the small bag of herbs he had thought she had left behind. She had followed him. He realized now she had watched from a distance, ensuring he made it safely to his land. "You did well," she said. The faintest smile touched her lips. I couldn't have done it without you," he said, voice raw with emotion he didn't usually share. "You saved me. More than once." Her gaze held his, steady. "You saved yourself, too. You made choices. You listened. You survived." He nodded, feeling the weight of it. "I owe you more than I can say." Atsubi's eyes softened, finally allowing a trace of warmth. "Go tend your ranch. Heal. You will see me when you are ready." He wanted to ask her to stay, wanted to speak words of thanks, of more than thanks. But he didn't. Somehow, it felt right to let her go, let her remain the quiet spirit of the canyon. "Then I'll see you soon," he said instead, forcing a smile. "I promise." She inclined her head once. "I will be here. The canyon is patient." And then, as silently as she had appeared months ago in the twisting canyons, she stepped back, her braid catching the last light of sunset, and disappeared among the rocks. Carter watched until she vanished completely, leaving only the whisper of wind in the juniper trees. He mounted Bramble, feeling the strength returning to his arms and legs, and rode into the ranch, carrying with him not only his own life but a sense of humility, and a strange, unspoken connection to the silent guide who had saved him in the canyon. He didn't know if he would ever see Atsubi again, but he knew one thing. Her hands, her quiet wisdom, and her watchful eyes would always ride with him, like a shadow of protection he couldn't shake, and never wanted to. The ranch lay before him, safe, familiar, yet somehow different. He had returned not just healed, but changed. And in the distance, among the canyon shadows, a single chestnut mane twitched in the wind, a silent promise that some guardians never fade. Carter patted Bramble's neck and let out a long, tired sigh. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fire and gold, and for the first time in weeks, Carter felt at peace.